I have been a fan of Ice Climbers 4 Tilt for a really long time. I have been a believer in it for like almost 3 years at this point, and before then I knew that it was a good move. Like it's been known for a long time that there are uses for Ice Climbers 4 Tilt, but generally it's the kind of move which its qualities are sort of overlooked because there were flashier moves that do similar jobs and are just like kind of slightly worse than it. So it tends to get overlooked a lot in the ways in which it's good, which is a real shame. It's a real shame because I think it has all the qualities that make a good move like really interesting. Um, it's not very hard to use, all things considered. It's not hard to get use out of it. It's not gonna be like it's not just extremely specific situations that see use a forward tilt. Um, it's very common. It's got a lot of leniency to how you can use it, and it's not very easy to counterplay, which a lot of new development in playstyles are often gimped in one of those ways where, maybe they're extremely good, but they require like very strict timing. It's a new desync that requires you to do a frame perfect input, or a new combo that requires you to do a bunch of complicated inputs to turn Nano around the right way. Not so much with Forward Tilt. There are a lot of applications that even very good Ice Climbers aren't doing, and I would simply like to take some time today to profess my love for what I think is a very underappreciated move in the Ice Climbers toolkit, and one that I hope more people will make use of in the future. So, the most common way that people use Forward Tilt is, of course, for the combo potential out of a grab. So we're gonna see it from Nikki here. Or not gonna see it, but most commonly people use it to build up percent during a grab, which it is very good at that. And the other thing that people will often use it for is to approach. You'll do like a wave dash in Forward Tilt into their opponent, kind of as a middle ground option between forward smash and down smash. So you get a little bit of the speed of down smash with the with a height that you can control more easily. So if your opponent's in the air, you can try to catch your opponent with an up angle forward tilt. Even just a regular angle forward tilt hits higher than a down smash. So people use it as an approach, kind of as a mid ground to the two, which is a little bit harder to punish. And I think it's fine in that sense. It's a decent approach, all things considered, if you're going to be approaching with something like a down smash or a forward smash. I don't necessarily know if you should do that. I think a lot of the times those kinds of approaches are ones that most players are better off trying to reduce in their gameplay. But if you want that purpose served, it's a fine tool for the job. But I think there are generally a lot better options, a lot better uses for it than that, and that's what I wanted to talk about today. Most of what I talk about today won't be completely new stuff. So I have here a 2012 Smashboards guide from Fly Manita. Very good stuff, honestly. I read it back in the day. It's got a ton of information, as you can see here. Like it is very long, very, very complete, and there are a few mentions of F-Tilt, such as here in order to protect Nana, which is a good use. One for stage control and zoning, one for approaching opponents on the ground, which is what I talked about just now. So there are a few talks about it, and a lot of the good uses that I will mention today are mentioned in this post, but I feel like it gets a little bit lost. First off, like searching through Smashboards posts and reading Smashboards posts is a lost art in the big 2025. But also, a lot of this info can get a little bit lost in such a large post that talks about so many different things all at once. I want to look at Fort Tilt and as many of its uses so that people can really understand why it's so good and like why they should be using it a lot more. That's my main goal, is to just propagandize the heck out of Ice Climbers Fort Tilt. So here are the main upsides of Fort Tilt. And I think this is a good way to look at every move when you're trying to figure out a way of, dealing with a problem in this game. You want to look at a move not necessarily for what it does or what you think it does, but as a combination of factors, a combination of characteristics, you could say. You break down a move into its essential components, rather, and you go from there to try to figure out which situations that move is useful for. So, you have a look at Fort Tilt. It is one of the Ice Climber's fastest moves, so we can see here 6-frame startup. It is quite active, so active for 4 frames, frames 6 to 9, and it hits directly in front with a disjoint, which is, always good. It's fast, disjointed, hits directly in front, and has relatively low landing lag. Interruptible as soon as on frame 28. That's pretty solid. And you have to take into account that these active frames are for a single Ice Climbers. There's going to be 2 Ice Climbers that are using Fort Tilt. So that's going to be like 8 frames of active hitboxes that are out whenever you use Fort Tilt, which is extremely active. So that is very good. If you compare it to other moves that hit a similar position, so something like down smash. Down smash starts up on the same frame, but starts up behind Ice Climber, so it's not quite as fast, for the purpose of hitting in front. And it doesn't have the same freedom in terms of hitting high or low. Forward smash covers a little bit more. It will cover higher, so if an opponent is above you, it'll catch them better. But it's a lot less active, and it takes a longer time to start up, and it's more punishable after it's done. So, or down tilt, that's another move that has some of the same properties. A little bit slower, hits a little bit lower, and it doesn't send away. So down tilt will send the opponent basically straight up, while Fort Tilt sends them away into tumble a lot of the time. And, if you look at this move in the abstract compared to down smash, forward smash, down tilt, you can see that it looks like a zoning tool. Looking at these characteristics, it is a zoning tool. It is very fast. It hits relatively strong. It's relatively strong for a move that is that fast. And it sends away. So, if we go off of these characteristics, we can go and look for situations where that move is useful. The first kind of situation I want to talk about, and this is the thing that first kind of tipped me off to this move being really excellent, is Fort Tilt as an anti-laser option against Falco. Really, this is more of an anti-approach option against Falco a lot of the time, but it's one of the best tools that Ice Climbers have to actually deal with lasers. Because if you don't use Fort Tilt, Ice Climbers kind of have to tank laser, because a lot of the options that other characters have to deal with lasers, such as laser dashback, it's not very good. You can tank laser dashback, but it's going to be a little bit dicey. I don't know if we see Nikki do, take laser dashback in this set, but, if you take laser dashback and they approach with another laser, your back is facing them, you're in shield, it's not an ideal situation. One of the main strengths of this, of Fort Tilt then, is that it allows you to aggressively contest Falco's lasers, and it can lead to a lot of very strong situations for you afterwards. I'm actually going to pull up Uncle Punch real quick, which I've had loaded up right here. Oh, hold on a minute. I don't have Uncle Punch loaded up. That's a little bit awkward. Let me put it up real quick. There we go. That should be good. So, let's see, what do we have? The laser training. I think it's power shield training. Yeah, this is good enough. So, this is one of the only moves that you can get out between like some pretty fast lasers. So like, put it like, fast. Like, if a Falco is approaching you, you can just like spam this forward tilt, and it might be, I think it is the best take laser option for ice climbers. If a Falco tries to approach you after shooting a laser like that, you can have the forward tilt out very quickly, and it leads to so many good situations. But generally, just the fact that you don't have to shield every laser, the fact that you don't have to like, suppose you're trying to approach Falco and you're just shielding like this, like, I don't know, are you gonna approach Falco, shield, and then get shield pressured? I don't know about that. Like, that seems really tragic. It's a lot of work just to like put yourself in shield and hope the Falco messes up. So being able to have that kind of like tank laser aggressive option, especially if the Falco is expecting you to shield. If you've been doing this kind of movement for a long time, the Falco might be expecting you to keep doing this, and then they're going to be like jumping on top of your shield directly. But if you are able to mix it up by tanking laser and forward tilting, that can like turn a lot of situations around. The first time that I thought about this really was sometime in 2022. I was playing against KJH in friendlies, and KJH was learning Falco ICs at the time, you know, just starting to get into it, and he played I say he did like the ginger LARP playing against my Sopo, where he would exclusively do laser forward tilt until my Sopo was at like 50, like not 50%, like he would do it like 50 times over. My Sopo would be at like 150%, and then he would forward tilt me off stage, like just laser, 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 and then he would approach, laser, forward tilt, and I couldn't do anything. And that's when I started thinking like, okay, I need to do something about these lasers. It can't just be shielding and putting up no pressure. And I started spamming forward tilt after taking laser, and it completely turned the matchup around. It makes the Sopo versus Falco matchup a lot more playable too. Everything that I say about forward tilt, you know, applies doubly to Sopo, which is a character that lacks so many options. Like, you know, you can't be desync blizzarding as Sopo in order to catch your, you know, the approaching Falco off guard. You need to be using forward tilt to create that space. It like completely turned the matchup around for that. And another big thing about this is that if your opponent is approaching while you are forward tilting, you can get some pretty gnarly combo opportunities from it. So, what I'm going to show here, this is a little bit more situational, and it's kind of dependent on the way your opponent decides to play. But basically a direct follow-up to the idea that forward tilt beats some Falco approaches is that it can also directly combo, you know, out of opponents holding in. So if we take something like Survival DI in this case, let's say just for fun we're gonna do no mash out, so you know, the crazy mash out Uncle Punch isn't gonna get us this time. If your opponent is holding in like this, you can forward tilt into a grab. And this is a little bit more specific, but there are a lot of percents where this works at. So like it works at, you know, it works at 30 when it doesn't knock down. Starting at around 40%, it gets, you know, it could technically be grabbed if the Falco was like jumping. Here he's a little bit too low, he hits the ground a little bit too fast. This is still a good position. We will get to that. But yeah, like against characters like Falco, they're holding in. If they, if they don't get knocked down, you can combo that into a grab if they're holding in. This applies to a few other characters. Falco is the main one that you're going to be using this against, but it also applies to characters like Sheik or especially Falcon. Falcon is so fat and can be caught for a while, but get the right DI for that one. Survival DI. No mash. Yeah, against Sheik, you can get that kind of combo. You can get it against Falcon. Mash. Getting used to this. I'm getting used to this again. Pretty sure I just messed it up. Pretty sure I just messed this up. Maybe not. Maybe you need to be moving into Falcon for that. That's another use of forward tilt that's a little bit more, on the aggressive side, which is, whenever you're sliding forward, forward tilt can actually combo into a lot of stuff when you don't have to dash in order to get it. But yeah, like these kinds of situations, forward tilt can definitely give you some direct openings. But even I've been messing up a lot of these grabs. But even if you can't get a direct combo, this is not my preferred combo follow-up after a forward tilt. My preferred combo follow-up is simply to use it as a tech chase setup, and this works against basically every top tier that's not a super floaty, and you can set up a lot of very powerful situations for yourself from forward tilt. So let's give it 50%. Around 50%, if your opponent starts to approach you and you whack them away with forward tilt, you can start following them up with basically whatever you want. Tech chasing is a little bit sloppy right now, but yeah, if they tech in, you get a free reaction. If they tech towards the edge, that could potentially be a tech chase into a handoff. And the main upside of using forward tilt instead of something like back air, which is somewhat less of a landing lag, is that back air sends a lot further. So you see how in this situation the Fox is basically able to DI off stage and can't follow it up. If you forward tilt, the Fox is forced to tech on stage and you get your tech chase from that. And there are so many situations where if they're approaching you from outside of the corner, or if they're trying to work out of the corner in order to approach you, and you forward tilt them back into the corner, you get a somewhat free tech chase into a handoff or into whatever you want, really. I kind of lost my train of thought for a second. Yeah, this entire kind of tech chase setup idea can be used at various percents against different characters. Yeah, it can be used on Sheik, although Sheik is always going to be a little bit hard to tech chase. Oh yeah, I want to say, a lot of the time, they are not going to be ready to actually tech your move. So, especially if it's a character like Fox or Falco, who kind of have to be ready to L cancel before they actually see, themselves landing on the ground. These kinds of characters will sometimes be pressing L or R before they touch the ground, before they, see their move connect even, or they'll be ready to press it before the move connects. And because of that, they can often miss their tech, and you can forward tilt into down smash as kind of a tech trap. Obviously, Uncle Punch characters won't be falling for that quite as easily, but that is, another interesting idea, especially if your down smash can cover multiple tech options depending on stage positioning. that is, yeah, one of the main punished uses of forward tilt. Yeah, being able to set up tech chases on every stage, which is another important thing. Forward tilt sends low enough, and like it's kind of hard to DI it in a way that leads you to going on the platform, depending on what percent your opponent's at. It's like the limitation of forward tilt compared to something like down smash or back air, which is the fact that it's relatively low knockback, is actually a strength of it when you want to set up these kinds of tech trap situations. And yeah, that's like basically the reason why it was overlooked for so long, is that it feels kind of inferior to these other moves. It's less strong. You just need to be able to set it up. You need to be able to set up the right situations for it to make sense. I also want to bring up the idea of this forward tilt as an edge guarding tool, especially against Falcon and Marth. So, I bring this back up. I think the video might have been playing in the background the whole time. Oh no, I paused it. Okay. So, I want to bring up two examples of forward tilt being used to edge guard. One of them, I believe, yeah, I think it happens in this game. Oh no, this is an example of what not to do. I'm remembering now. So I believe it's the next stock. So yeah, this is the situation. So forward smash is a very, very good tool to edgeguard Captain Falcon. Alright, that's the. I don't think forward tilt is a replacement for forward smash. I think it's very complementary. So if you go back and look at the frame data, the main benefit of forward smash is how high it hits. So I think it's, yeah, right here. It hits directly above you and then does this sort of angle, this sort of like a slant here, and then it's gone in 2 frames. So it covers, your 2 characters in total will have 4 frames of coverage, 4 frames of active hitboxes with this. It hits above, first and foremost, and it is very, very good at hitting from above. I don't want to, don't want to piss off the F Smash intelligentsia out here. It's very good at that, but it has the problem that 1, it is slower, and 2, it is less active. So this kind of situation here, where you want to cover Falcon going to ledge, which is, most likely what Falcon's going to be doing here if you look at the kind of drift that Nun is doing. He's probably not going to be up being from this spot for various reasons. Yeah, you want to cover ledge here, but Slug was a little bit too far away when he set up that edge guard first. So here in this spot, if he wants to move forward to cover ledge, forward smash becomes too slow. So he is literally just too far away for his move to work as intended here. So look here, Nana forward smashes, and first off, I think the hitbox is actually inactive now, so it might have just been a it might have been a combination of being too far away. Like, this looks a little bit too far away, and also a mistiming. But like overall, this is a little bit difficult to cover with forward smash, as opposed to forward tilt, which once you notice this kind of jump from Falcon, you can start walking towards the ledge here and put down like a down angle forward tilt that covers a lot more of the angle there, like a lot more of the, the trajectory of Falcon falling down towards the stage, because of how active it is. We have 4 active frames, double because of Nana. Like, that's a lot of active frames. It's very, very easy to set up. It is fast enough that you can walk towards the edge here to reposition yourself before you do the forward tilt. That's the kind of situation that I think a lot of people are overlooking. I would like to see a, I don't think I have a VOD of you. Oh, I just remembered actually. I just remembered a VOD where I did this actually. Lunar Dusk versus MGMG at Tidal Waves Losers Finals. I'm pretty sure I did it somewhere in here. Yeah, I'm just gonna skip forward a little bit while I look for this. I'm pretty sure it was in game 1 that I did it. Last talk of game 1. But yeah, that kind of like, these are the kind of situations that I think, it really shines in. It's been used that way, in similar ways, let's say, by, players like Chudat in the Spacies matchups. So, not just Chudat, a lot of people have used it that way, where you do an option to cover immediate side B or like a low angle, and then if the Spacey goes high, you go to ledge, like they go high and then they drift back to ledge, you forward tilt to set them back off stage, that kind of stuff, basically as a kind of an afterthought, right? You do your first option, and your first option, if it works, great, you get the edge guard, and then if you miss it, you try to like kind of cover your ass with forward tilt. Try to make it make sense. Apparently it wasn't this game. But yeah, like, I want to bring up mostly the idea of forward tilt as a good primary edgeguard option. Is that where I used it? I guess not. Pretty sure it's somewhere in this spot. Maybe I'll look for it after. Shows just how ready I was for this. Maybe it's on the FD game. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's on the FD game. Oh well. The idea is there. Interested readers can have a look and check to make sure that I'm not imagining things. I'm pretty sure it was in this game. Let's just watch this next edge guard that I do. Just make sure that I'm not completely hallucinating. I might be hallucinating. The other thing I'd like to bring up is its use as a Marth edgeguarding tool. And IC's edgeguarding Marth has always been a little bit tricky. Marth has a lot of mix-ups that make it hard for ICs to consistently edgeguard him. A lot of the time, ICs will slip hog, but the problem with slip hogging is Marth can see it coming and just stall for a little bit longer. And once Sopo is back on stage, it's hard for Sopo to grab a ledge over Marth's up B. So the way that a character like Fox or Falco can like backflip over Marth's up B, Ice Climbers can't really do, Popo can't really do, and Popo needs to wait for Nana to be on stage and be done with her role. So there's like a lot of timing issues that come with that. The other option is you try to get Marth to miss miss their sweet spot to ledge and hit Marth with a down smash or a forward smash. And those options are, it's fine, it works. I've hit some very good Marths with, missing a sweet spot into wave dash down smash. And there are some ways to set up to make it easier. But I think there is there's a thing that I haven't really seen other ICs used. And I think it's very good. And it's another thing that makes use of Forward Tilt's unique properties compared to the other moves of its genre, which is its speed and most importantly the fact that it sends away. So like something like down tilt wouldn't be able to do the same job. I believe it's on this stock that I did it. I did it at least twice this set. I did it at least twice this set, and both times it worked really well. There was a third time I did it that didn't quite hit, but I know for a fact that I did it this set. It might be the next stock, because I don't think I would do it at 130%. I think that might be a little bit unwise. This is one of those things that works very well at mid% and a little bit less well at super high percents, where, they can DI up and get a little bit more drift towards the stage. Let me see, is this it? Where is it? Where is it? I think that was it. Yeah, this is the one. There we go. This crouch cancel into forward tilt. Kind of a variation of the, you know, Fox Killer, however, .0, or, you know, whatever else they call it. You know, just get up from ledge, and then you hold down back on your control stick, and just wait to get hit, spam forward tilt. Yeah, generally, just a great option to, you know, mix it up against Marth. I don't think Ice Climbers have anything else that hits there. I think forward smash is usually just too slow. Yeah, I don't think forward smash would have reached here. It probably would have reached, but I don't know if it would have made it in time. And yeah, because it sends in that away direction, it's very, very good at you know, edge guarding Marth, putting him in an awkward position. Very underexplored aspect of the move, and the character in general. There might be other uses for it. I don't know if you could edge guard spacies with it. But yeah, it's definitely super good against Marth, and I would highly recommend people to test it out further. So now we're gonna talk about Samus missiles, which is definitely just kind of the worst thing that Ice Climbers have to deal with as a whole. So I want to start with the idea that being in shield against Samus is always bad. And this game, you know, notice this game, Moth gets, you know, beaten very badly, and this is no disrespect to her. You know, this is a very hard matchup, and Morse Code is a very, very strong player. I have never beaten Morse Code. I think this matchup is horrendous. But it will show that if you want to, you know, if you want to play in Samus, you cannot be shielding, because every time Moth shields here, and she shields missiles a lot, for example, or she, you know, sometimes she gets forced to shield missiles, sometimes she has to shield other, you know, other projectiles. Like I think here, yeah, here she's forced to shield. Oh, there we go. That's the situation. Here, Samus shoots a missile, she's forced to shield, and then Morse Code basically just plays a bunch of free mix-ups on top of her shield. And yeah, there's basically nothing to be done from that point on. So here you have another situation. Basically, shoots a missile, Moth shields a missile, and this situation is kind of completely horrendous. She rolls in, which is not the worst option here. It's like there are so few good options here that rolling in is genuinely like not that terrible in the grand scheme of things. I think it happens a third time this dog, or maybe not. But the main point is, shielding is very, very bad in this matchup. And I'm gonna see. I don't think I can find a VOD right now of me playing against Samus, but they're like, you need to forward tilt missiles against Samus, basically. The way I'm gonna let it play, because I think like Moth knows about it. Moth definitely does it. It's just hard sometimes to remember to do it. But yeah, you need to be forward tilting Samus missiles in order to not get put in shield. It's basically the only way this neutral game can make sense. If Samus missiles and you are put in shield, you cannot play the game, basically. Because as soon as you get put in shield, especially if you have Nana present, you know, all your progress is halted and you give Samus a free mix-up. So you need to be ready to forward tilt missiles. Another situation, you know, this is difficult to, you know, react to, because even if you know that the Samus is going to be missiling here, you know, you fall on the ground, you might not have time to forward tilt in this situation. I could frame count it, but I don't know if I would go for it in a real game. You need to avoid this kind of situation in general. This is like becoming just an ICs Samus kind of lesson, but you you need to really avoid getting put in shield against Samus, especially with these kinds of missiles. Um, and because Fort Tilt beats missiles, um, it's one of your only tools that actually allows you to play this matchup. I don't think it's that good in a lot of other situations. Here's another awkward situation where I think it's because Moth was like blizzarding with Nana. It was a little bit awkward to foretell the missile here. Nana might have been vulnerable. Yeah, you can really see like you can really see how shielding the missiles puts you in a horrendous situation. I'd like to bring up also that I think just foretilting the missiles isn't enough. In my more recent experience playing this matchup, I find that you foretilt missiles and I'm sorry, by the way, I keep switching between missiles and missiles. I can't tell you why. But yeah, like in my more recent experiences in the matchup, I found that if you just foretilt the missiles, you are going to, you basically give Samus a target because you're still kind of inactive when you foretilt the missiles. So you not only need to foretilt them, you need to be moving around while you foretilt them. You need to be wave dashing forward, backwards, making micro adjustments to your spacing while you are foretilting the missiles. That is less tested. Foretilting missiles is a known good thing in the matchup. It's been known to be good for like many, many years. I would highly recommend to anyone struggling with the matchup, and then I would recommend that you pick a different character. But if you are really hell-bent on playing it, you need to be foretilting missiles, and if you're really serious about getting better at it, my new take, very good foretilts there by Moth actually, is that you should probably be working on moving around while using missiles. Just gonna go and look back on those foretilts real quick. Might be learning something new today. Yeah, just keep the pressure up. That's another situation where like Fort Smash might not have been fast enough. So, cool stuff. Cool stuff by Moth here. Despite playing an impossible matchup where I think she went 0-3, this is pretty good. Yeah, I think in general the main weakness of Fort Tilt, we've talked about it's used against Marth, Falcon, Spaceys, Sheik. You can use it in a similar way against a lot of mid-weights, your Link, Young Link, Roy, that kind of stuff. It's a little bit worse against floaties, or it's a lot bit worse against floaties, because floaties are a lot more down to trade against you than Spaceys are. Spaceys, you can catch them off guard. You can like trade Fort Tilt for a down air, and that's pretty good for you, all things considered. You get a lot of good stage control. You potentially get some follow-ups depending on percents. Not so much against floaties, where your Fort Tilt is pretty much all you get in that situation. So against floaties, the main use of Fort Tilt, which is sort of spammable, catch the approach, you can trade with it a little bit, that kind of stuff, and it gives you a very good risk reward. That's not really so much the case against floaties. So yeah, you're probably better off spamming back air, up air, your more general spacing tools against ice climbers, because ice climbers against floaties is a lot less about trading and forcing your way in so you can get big punishes, and it's more about winning neutral over and over again in very safe ways and very reactable ways, which arguably, if you want to get philosophical about it, might be why it's such a bad matchup. you need to win neutral over and over again. You can't be taking many risks in in trying to open up your opponent. Discussion for another day. Generally, I think that Fort Tilt isn't very good against super floaty Samus, Peach, Puff. Yeah, you don't get a lot of reward. Doesn't cover a lot of relevant ranges. It could be decent against Peach. I have used it a few times to catch a Peach, like descending with an aerial, and it is faster than your other options that cover that space. It is faster than short hop back air and short hop up air. So it can be useful as a spacing tool against like a floating Peach if you can read her timing. But it's always going to be a little bit rough. It's always a little bit dicey against these characters. Quick tangent about desyncing. So, it's a little bit less, less used these days. Actually, it was never used that much, but it has to be, it has to be said that it is something that exists. You can use Fort Tilt to desync your Ice Climbers with the Fort Tilt Guard. Basically, you just do a turnaround Fort Tilt and get your desync out that way. I have caught some people off guard with it. I do think it's a worthwhile option to have in your tool belt. I haven't really used it in the past few years, and I have not felt its absence, really. It is effectively just, like, trickery, which isn't necessarily what I'm looking for in a desync. There are some good uses. Like, for example, I might start using it more again, actually. Like, I'm gonna get into, like, some uses of Fort Tilt as a bait. And if you can mix up something like, for example, like that Fort Tilt desync and something like, double Fort Tilt. Like, if you can do this and then, like, Fort Tilt twice in order to catch an approach, you could potentially get some use out of that. This is speculation on my part. I haven't used it, I haven't used that mix-up yet. I just thought about it now because, the next thing I'm going to be talking about is using Fort Tilt as a bait. But yeah, this Fort Tilt guard, you turn around Fort Tilt into Nana option. Completely fine desync. Out of all the desyncs that exist, I think this is a completely fine one. If this is like your favorite desync method and you prefer it over something like Dash Dance desync, I do think you should Dash Dance desync most of the time. But there are worse things. It's much better than Spa Dash desync. I'll tell you that much. Yeah. So I want to talk really quickly about Fort Tilting in the Ice Climbers Ditto. This is a little bit harder to visualize right now because I don't think there are any VODs on YouTube of... I don't think there are any VODs on YouTube of, like, an Ice Climbers spamming it. At least not as far as I know. I haven't watched a ton of... There haven't been a ton of ICs Dittos recently, which is a bit unfortunate. But I can tell you... that whenever I play ICs Dittos, and, Dargenix can back me up on this. We've talked about ICs Dittos quite a bit. There are a lot of very powerful ways to wall Popo when you're trying to, edgeguard Nana. And one of the best ways to edgeguard Popo, not edgeguard Popo, like wall out Popo while you're trying to kill Nana, if you are Sopo, is just the spam Fort Tilt. Because it's very spammable, first off. It's one big difference between it and down smash, forward smash, even jab, is how spammable it is as a walling tool. Even back air, it's way more spammable than back air, even. So, if you're trying to wall out the opposing Popo that's trying to get to the Nana, and you just need to buy time until you can hit Nana again, or until Nana dies, like, spamming Fort Tilt can be really annoying for your opponent. So you Fort Tilt, like, if they try to punish the first one, maybe they're a little bit late, the timing is not super tight. Like, wave dashing to beat a long, like, a horizontal hitbox that you can spam like that is very difficult. You like if you're an ICs main, you know that a Falco hits your shield with a forward smash, and you should be able to punish it. But then you shield it, and you try to wave dash that shield. They just forward smash again, and then you cry. It's basically kind of the same deal where like you try to wave dash. If you try to wave dash into the first forward tilt and shield it, you are not going to be able to wave dash out of shield to punish the second forward tilt. You basically need to be directly inside the ice climbers and shield grabbing them in order to punish it, or you need to time it like in a very strict way from either you predict the forward tilt and you time your wave dash to deal with it, or you need to be dash dancing in order to dash dance around it into a grab or into a move, and there just aren't a lot of great moves to instantly punish it. Like, it's like forward tilt is faster than dash attack by quite a bit, so you would need to be very, very heads up in order to catch catch it with a dash attack. You could go for a grab, which is decent. Where's a grab? Standing grab, 7-frame startup. Like, that is pretty good, but it's a small hitbox, and do you really want to be grabbing that situation? You want to go save Nana. It might take a little bit too much time. So I just want to put it out there. I might release some Sleepy files of like me playing the Ditto, because I love playing the Ditto personally, and I think it's very, very strong as a walling tool when you're Sopo. If you're both climbers, you probably shouldn't be spamming forward tilt to keep Sopo out. You should probably be using a Blizzard desync, because that is as checkmate of a position as you can have in in that situation. But if you're Sopo, try just spamming forward tilt to wall out the other Popo. It is shockingly effective. It is shockingly effective. And I think I had one last thing I wanted to talk about. Yeah, the last thing I'd like to talk about is forward tilt as a bait or as a wall. So as a wall, kind of talked about it. Characters that have very short range, like the Marios, for example, like Sopo. I could imagine Ness maybe. Ness has a little bit more range with dash attack forward air, but if we go back here, like Donkey Kong, Ganondorf, Captain Falcon to some extent, Pichu, Pikachu, these kinds of characters that have like short range, mid-weights, mid-weight to floaties, so some of them are like kind of fast faller-ish, Captain Falcon, fast faller, obviously. You look at these characters and their lack of range and the way that they're approached, and you can see that a lot of them could struggle with dealing with forward tilt the same way that Sopo struggles to deal with it. So, for example, a character like Luigi kind of has to go through the same trouble that Sopo goes through, trying to wave dash around, the Ice Climber's hitboxes, trying to find an opening, sees a forward tilt, maybe is not quite ready. If the wave dash is a little bit too late, they might get caught by the second forward tilt, get put out of position, and that's a little bit of a gamble, but I don't think it's an especially risky gamble compared to some of the other positions that you tend to play in these kinds of matchups. Similarly, Mario. I've had a lot of success against Mario players using forward tilt to stuff out their approaches, because they have to kind of be close to you to wave dash down smash, and that's not generally great. And his aerials are so small, it really sucks for him. Even if you whiff your first forward tilt, you can use a second one to stuff their aerials. Kind of the same deal with Pikachu and Pichu, although they have better dash dance game. Kind of like the same deal as Fox, where I wouldn't necessarily try to spam forward tilt to bait Fox that much. It can be done, especially if you're confident in your tech chasing. You get the forward tilt, the right tech chase percent. Maybe it's worth it. Maybe you can trick the Fox with that once or twice. And if your punish game is good enough, 1 or 2 knockdowns is really all you need. So, like, do not, don't let me be the one to stop you from experimenting with Fort Tilt against Spaceys or any of these characters really. Um, yeah, being able to use Fort Tilt in all these different ways together, like it really shows how much potential there is in this move that just isn't really being explored right now. That's the main reason I'm making this video. It's like there is like there's so much potential in this move, and like I was just watching an Ice Climbers earlier today uh miss an edge guard on Falcon that would have definitely worked with Fort Tilt, but like it was just too slow with Fort Smash. And it's like it's not like people don't know that it's a good move. It's been known that it's a decent move since like like this guy's from 2012. Like in much like it was definitely known that it was decent a lot before that. But I think a lot of its good characteristics are, like I said, like kind of outshined by easier moves to use. More straightforward moves. Like you down smash for the Ice Climbers, your job is kind of done once you hit the down smash. Um, yeah, I hope like I hope more experimentation gets done with this move because there's so much potential to it, and like I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that I missed, so that I may not have been able to showcase to its full potential here. Um, but yeah, that's I think that's about it for me, and we're gonna watch the end of this handoff. We're gonna say thank you VG Bootcamp, thank you Nikki, and yeah, that's about it. I'll see you around.